Movie kicks off in the Philippines where a young soldier named Sergeant J.J. Kinney is pondering over his breakfast choices. Suddenly, his senior shows up and tells him to get ready for a halo jump, a high-altitude, low-opening parachute jump. Now we switch over to Captain Eddie Grimm, also known as Reaper, who's not too happy because someone swiped his coffee. Just then, Sergeant Branson shows up and wants to discuss a leave for her wedding day, but seeing Reaper angry, she decides to delay the topic and tells him that the operation is about to start in just 15 minutes. Back to Kinney, he's on board a chopper with Sergeant Abel, Sergeant Bishop, and Master Sergeant John Sweet, heading to their mission destination. Meanwhile, Reaper lets other soldiers know that his wife is expecting a baby, and while he's off on this mission, they need to look out for the phone ringing in case she goes into labor. With that, he goes into the control room to assist in the mission. As the scene returns to the chopper, the soldiers continue their pre-operation briefing, ensuring everyone is clear on their roles and objectives. Among them, Kinney appears a bit bewildered, struggling to grasp some of the finer details. Sensing his confusion, his comrades rally around him, urging him to stay focused. It's only his second mission, and they can't afford any distractions that might jeopardize their safety or mission success. With their preparations complete, they leap from the chopper into the vast expanse below, each soldier executing their halo jump with precision. However, as they descend, Kinney encounters unexpected difficulty with his parachute. The tension mounts among the team until, at the very last moment, the parachute finally opens, bringing a collective sigh of relief from his comrades. Meanwhile, stationed back at the base, Branson and Reaper work tirelessly to support the team on the ground. Using their expertise and technology, they assist in navigation and maintain a vigilant watch over their progress. As the team treks through the dense Philippine jungle, their conversations turn to the mission at hand. It's revealed that their primary objective is to rescue a captive held by Petrov, a notorious arms dealer known to operate in the region. With determination in their hearts, they press onward, navigating the unforgiving terrain in pursuit of their target. Suddenly, their attention is drawn to a structure ahead, a home nestled amidst the trees roughly 100 meters away. Curiosity piqued, they decide to investigate, cautiously approaching to discern who might be inside. Eager to gather more information, they relay their discovery to Reaper, requesting assistance in surveilling the area with their drone. However, their plans are abruptly disrupted as communication with the base is lost. After this, the soldiers decide to carry out the mission without the drone and go near to check out the location. Suddenly, Abel senses some movement ahead, and as he is about to shoot, a pig appears out of nowhere. The team continues to move ahead and see a well-protected base. They find a clear spot and set up their positions. After a while, they locate Petrov with his wife and kid chilling on his lawn. Suddenly, they see some vehicles approaching the base with men and guns. It is revealed that these are Abu Sayyaf, who runs a terrorist organization, and his men. Seeing this, the team asks Kinney about the status of the drone and Reaper. Soon, the drone and the system are fixed and Reaper gets back in contact with the team, guiding them on what's happening inside. Suddenly, Abu Sayyaf and his men shoot Petrov and his men. He chops Petrov's wife's head off in front of him and is also about to kill his son, but the team decides to intervene. They tell Reaper to drop the bomb but decide to take Abu Sayyaf and his men down by shooting at them, as it will take 30 more seconds before the bomb hits. The team shoots at them, giving the kid a chance to escape. After this, Abu Sayyaf orders his men to find the intruders, and suddenly chaos erupts into a fierce fight. Kinney finds himself under attack, a grenade knocking him senseless for a moment. Meanwhile, Abel takes a fatal shot to the abdomen, leaving Kinney torn between helping him and aiding the others who are under heavy missile assault. Sweet urgently calls for Kinney's assistance, prompting him to relay the enemy's position to Reaper and request another bomb strike. However, there is still some time before the bomb can hit, and during this, the enemy fires a missile that strikes Bishop and Sweet. With no time to mourn, Kinney flees into the dense jungle, reaching out to Reaper for help. He shares his coordinates and pleads for guidance. Now alone in the wilderness, Kinney hears the ominous approach of enemy vehicles. Reaper and Branson confirm the enemy's proximity, urging Kinney to stay hidden and alert. Desperate to evade capture, Kinney plunges into a nearby river, seeking refuge under a ridge. As tension mounts, a canine sniffs out Kinney's scent and starts barking at him. Reaper's voice urges Kinney to remain perfectly still, resisting the urge to flee. Eventually, the canine and its handlers move on, leaving Kinney to breathe a shaky sigh of relief. As Reaper helps Kinney navigate through the jungle, he tries to ease Kinney's nerves by engaging him in conversation. They exchange personal stories, with Reaper sharing anecdotes about his own family. This diversion helps Kinney momentarily forget the imminent dangers lurking around them. As night descends, Kinney decides to take a brief rest, cautiously scanning the area with his night vision binoculars before moving on. Just as he deems the coast clear, a chopper appears, seemingly to rescue him. However, before he can reach safety, Kinney is struck by gunfire, collapsing to the ground. Abu Sayyaf's men waste no time in launching missiles at the chopper, forcing it to retreat without Kinney. Faced with imminent danger, Kinney fights back, returning fire and urging Reaper to unleash another bomb on their attackers. Following Kinney, Reapers drops a bomb at the enemy, but as the situation grows dire, another vehicle arrives on the scene, bringing even more men and weapons into the fray. Now, with no more bombs left, Kinney pleads with Reaper for help. In a stroke of luck, a rescue jet arrives, firing missiles at the approaching vehicle, buying Kinney precious moments to flee. During this, Kinney manages to run away and everything gets quiet for a while. In the morning light, Kinney resumes his journey, determined to put the previous night's chaos behind him. Reaper, feeling responsible for the failed evacuation, offers Kinney a sincere apology, hoping to ease the tension between them. So, they find solace in sharing their personal struggles once more, providing a brief respite from the perils surrounding them. As they converse, Kinney stumbles, which sends him tumbling down a small ridge and into the river below. With Reaper's warning, Kinney braces himself as 3 armed hostiles close in on his position. Suddenly, gunfire erupts, prompting Kinney to retaliate with his pistol. But as his ammunition runs dry, Kinney is forced to flee, seeking refuge downstream. With adrenaline coursing through his veins, Kinney plunges into the cool embrace of a nearby waterfall, using its cascading waters to shield his escape. He remains submerged, allowing the current to carry him downstream to safety. However, as he emerges onto the shore, he's greeted by the menacing presence of a gun-wielding adversary. Meanwhile, Reaper and Branson find themselves unable to establish contact with Kinney, adding to the growing sense of unease and uncertainty hanging over their mission. Now, Kinney finds himself at the mercy of his captors, battered and bruised from their relentless assault. In a stroke of unexpected fortune, a figure cloaked in a hoodie emerges from the shadows, swiftly dispatching Kinney's assailants with skillful precision. To Kinney's astonishment, the mysterious savior is none other than Sergeant Sweet, presumed dead. With Kinney freed from his captors, Sweet reveals that Bishop is in dire need of their help, prompting them to rush back into the jungle. Gathering weapons from the shed, they make haste, determined to aid their comrade in distress. Reaching a vantage point atop a high ridge, they manage to re-establish contact with Reaper, whose relief at hearing from Kinney is palpable. However, their plans to rescue Bishop are met with resistance as Reaper urges caution, advising against a return to the danger zone. Despite Reaper's warnings, Kinney is resolved to save Bishop, but their communication is abruptly cut off once more, leaving Reaper scrambling to find alternate means of reaching out to Kinney. Now, Kinney asks Sweet about their plan of action, only to discover that Bishop's precise whereabouts are still unknown to them. Undeterred, Sweet suggests a strategy involving the use of bombs to create a diversion, allowing them to penetrate the enemy's defenses and locate Bishop. With determination in their hearts, Kinney relays the planned bomb drop locations to Reaper via radio communication. However, their exchange is abruptly cut short as the radio dies, leaving them once again in silence. Meanwhile, back at base, tensions escalate as Colonel Does Packet demands that Reaper step down from his position due to exceeding his allotted 10-hour shift. Refusing to abandon the operation, Reaper stands his ground, prompting the Colonel to issue a stark ultimatum. Faced with no other option, Reaper and Branson reluctantly yield to the Colonel's demands, passing their responsibilities to another commander. Despite their departure, Reaper leaves clear instructions not to jeopardize the mission, a testament to his unwavering dedication to their cause. Meanwhile, Sweet and Kinney load their gun and head straight back into the base. In one of the rooms of the building, they see 2 men watching TV, so they decide to take them down quietly. However, the fight turns into chaos as more men arrive. Now, Sweet and Kinney team up to take down while covering up for each other. During this, Sweet gets shot and they are taken down by a grenade. After this, both Kinney and Sweet are taken as hostages and the men cage them up after the beating. Kinney calls out for one of the men and tries to explain to him that their air force is going to bomb this area and they need to get out of there, but the man does not understand his language. After dragging Sweet out of his cage, Abu Sayyaf and his men execute him with a gunshot to the head. Then they turn their brutal attention to Kinney, dragging him from his cage and subjecting him to a merciless beating. Meanwhile, in a grocery store elsewhere, Reaper's troubled expression hints at his growing concern for his missing comrades. In a grim scene, Abu Sayyaf tortures Kinney, using a hammer to extract information about the whereabouts of other soldiers. Kinney insists that it's just him and Sweet, but Abu Sayyaf refuses to believe him, inflicting even more pain. Unaware of Kinney's plight, the sergeant in Reaper's place prepares to drop bombs on the locations Kinney shared earlier. As the bombs rain down, the entire building erupts in a deafening explosion. Miraculously, Kinney, submerged in a tub during the blast, emerges relatively unscathed. Seizing an opportunity amidst the chaos, Kinney grabs Abu Sayyaf's sword and escapes the inferno, navigating through the flames and carnage. Amidst the turmoil, Kinney's priority is to locate Bishop. Along the way, he encounters the mission's main asset, a Filipino prisoner holding vital intelligence for the American army. With danger lurking around every corner, Kinney now decides to navigate through the chaos to ensure their survival and retrieve the valuable information they seek. The Filipino prisoner in tow, Kinney locates Bishop amidst the chaos of the burning compound. However, their reunion is ruined by the sight of Abu Sayyaf, who is also lying there in a miserable condition and spitefully taunts Kinney. Driven by rage and determination, Kinney wields the sword and delivers a fatal blow, putting an end to Abu Sayyaf's reign of terror. With Bishop freed from his cage, Kinney wastes no time in devising an escape plan. But their hopes of a swift departure are dashed when a countdown timer ominously begins, signaling the imminent strike of another missile. Thinking quickly, Kinney seizes Abu Sayyaf's radio and attempts to establish contact with the base. After several attempts, he finally manages to reach a soldier, but his pleas for assistance are met with indifference as they're engrossed in a football match on TV. Frustrated but undeterred, Kinney leaves a desperate voicemail for Reaper, hoping for a swift response. As Reaper listens to the urgent message, a surge of determination propels him into action, driving him back to the base with urgency. Despite his frantic efforts to reach the base by phone, the soldiers remain oblivious to the impending danger, absorbed in the excitement of the match. Now, with time running out, the fate of Kinney, Bishop, and the Filipino prisoner hangs precariously in the balance. With the countdown ticking away, Reaper takes decisive action upon his arrival at the base. Racing against the clock, he swiftly intervenes, instructing the sergeant in his place to abort the mission. With tense anticipation, they zoom in on the target area and relief floods over them as they spot Kinney waving back at them. A collective sigh of relief echoes through the room, and Bishop extends heartfelt gratitude to Kinney for his unwavering bravery. However, Reaper's sense of duty isn't complete yet. With a resolute stride, he marches into the lounge where the soldiers are gathered with their attention fixated on the TV. Armed with a golf club, Reaper delivers a decisive blow, smashing the TV into pieces and breaking the spell of distraction that had gripped the soldiers. Meanwhile, Kinney, Bishop, and the Filipino asset are safely rescued and brought back to the base. As the movie draws to a close, an emotional moment unfolds between Sergeant Branson and Reaper as she requests him to walk her down the aisle on her wedding day, and Reaper happily agrees.